We are so excited as this season we are adding in our Essence series, where we are having badass women who are saying yes to life and are leading their own lives come and talk to us about their essence. And Jacqueline's going to start by giving an astro reading, and from there, we're going to discuss our astrology and how it plays a role in the way we show up in our lives.
I'm so excited, Bri. And I'm excited to introduce astrology into our work. So the reason why I started studying and practicing astrology in the first place is to intensify self-awareness. That's really the main point. And so astrology reminds us of who we are. It helps us remember our true or essential self so we can make better choices and take care of ourselves in a more aligned way. It helps us to learn to separate what we want from what we feel compelled to want, which ultimately makes us happier. So we're excited to introduce a guest today, Taylor Thompson. Taylor Thompson is the go-to high-performance strategist for guiding leaders, high achievers, and entrepreneurs to achieve their big, impossible goals without compromising their quality of life. She helps them unlock their next level of success while maintaining their well-being and relationships, because she knows that you don't have to choose between your ambition and quality of life. Sounds like our kind of girl.
Amazing.
She uses her natural strengths as an Aries, which we'll talk about, Gallup achiever and activator, Enneagram 3 wing 4, and manifesting generator to help motivate, guide, and support her clients to find their natural blend between their lives, their work, and hashtag all the things they want to do. So she says, get ready to say goodbye to the multi-passionate overwhelm. You know how that feels. Yes. She specializes in helping her clients and students master their mindset, time, energy, relationships, and elevate their experience of life. Her superpowers include implementation, helping others believe in themselves, and making an incredible paleo appleberry crumble.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute.
I know. I'm like, where do you live? Can I come? Let's go.
Yeah. What? I need that recipe.
Taylor is on a mission to rescue over 1 million leaders and high achievers from burnout, the multi-passionate overwhelm, and feeling lost so they can lead the life they've always wanted to and achieve their impossible goals with more freedom, flow, and fulfillment.
So wow.
I know.
Wow. I'm so excited.
Taylor's such a badass.
Literally.
I cannot wait to have this conversation. I mean, she obviously is super self-aware and knows a lot about herself. So I'm curious how what we'll share today resonates with her.
Totally. I'm really excited. Welcome, Taylor.
Yeah, let's go, Taylor. Welcome, Taylor. We're so excited to have you.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you ladies.
Yes, we're so excited to have you. Please just start us off and give us a few sentences describing what you do and how you show up in your life.
Yes. So my name is Taylor Thompson. I reside just outside of St. Louis. I'm a Midwest girl through and through. And I professionally am a high performance consultant, business mentor. And really, I found my purpose is to help people live deeper lives and really actually make the most of their life, whether that is through entrepreneurship and personal branding or holistic human optimization or life design. And how I show up is, we're probably going to get into this in the episode today, but I just try and show up in alignment. I just try and really go with the flow, and that it feels kind of against my natural nature, but it's something that has really helped me also make the most of my life, is really just showing up in alignment.
Oh my gosh, that is so in alignment, excuse me, with what we'll be talking about today. And again, we just celebrate you and can't thank you enough for your time and just sharing yourself with us. And here, I mean, we're going to dive into a topic that we haven't yet on our podcast as intensely, and that's astrology. And so what we're going to do is dive into your chart, starting with your top 3, meaning your sun sign, your moon sign, and your ascendant or rising. And so with that, we're going to dive in, and really it'll just be an open dialogue. Are you ready?
I love it. I'm super ready.
Okay, amazing. All right, Taylor. So first, I'd love to just start with an overview of your chart. Like, what is the theme that your life takes on? And the theme is you being a warrior with the soul of a teacher, wearing the mask or taking on the identity of a queen. Royalty.
Love that.
Okay, so you're shaking your head. It looks like it resonates a little bit. And so again, you're very well versed in all things human design. Sounds like astrology too. So I'd love to share a little bit about your sun sign to start off with. And that's really where we dive into the warrior part of what I just shared. And that is because your sun sign is in the planet of Aries, or in the sign of Aries, which really represents your essence. Your sun is your essence. It's the core of your being. It's like your fingerprint that you leave on this life. It's, how it's not only how you see yourself, but it's how you focus your willpower and your capacity for action. And that's exactly what the energy of Aries takes on. It takes on the energy of action, of being that warrior. It's literally the will to exist. So for you, your sun is also in the 9th house, which is the house of higher philosophies. It's how you form your personal system of ethics, establishing your worldview. It's, you having your sun there, especially in Aries, makes me think that you probably have a really clear sense of your life's evolving meaning and purpose, and also involves foreign travel, maybe also, national travel, but foreign travel. And so yeah, for you being a warrior, an action taker, one of your biggest, probably, themes of your life, is having or developing courage and taking action on things that may seem bigger than you. But your being and your natural response is to do it pretty seamlessly. And you tend to welcome challenges or, bump into things, maybe bump into life a little bit here and there. And so for you, that could be a magnet for, a welcoming challenge, but it can also welcome in stress and, trying to really select which types of stress you want to take on, whether that is positive stress and you're growing and you're challenging yourself, or, it's not as meaningful stress. And it's, sometimes the pointless hassles that we bring on, with the boredom that sometimes takes shape as an Aries and, multi-passionate person. It can bring on frustration too. So I share all that because that's who you are as, your being, the energy that your being takes on. And so my question to you, Taylor, is how that resonates with you, whether it be, in your life or in your business, or really anywhere that you have any, resemblance or resonance with that.
Yes, it does definitely resonate. I would say I didn't really realize this was in my chart. So like you said, I'm very surface level, knowledgeable about astrology, human design, a lot of that, because just even the little bit I've known has truly changed my life and business and how I do show up. One thing that is especially new to me today, a lot of that is, one that sticks out is the challenge and courage piece. So that is something I have seen a lot in both my personal and professional life, and has been difficult for me to explain to people why it does seem a little bit easier for me. And maybe not easier, I guess seamless, the word that you used, is probably more accurate, but that is definitely something that I do lean into. I never really understood why, so it's interesting that it popped up into my chart. But ultimately, I just see so much growth and just like a whole new side of life on the other side of any challenge that I face, and being able to really show myself my potential, I think has been huge. So that's super interesting. That's in my chart.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Bri, is there anything you wanted to add or any connections you made? Nope. Okay. Bri's incredible at making connections that I do not see. So, sometimes she'll interject and sometimes I'm like, I see it on your face. I see it on your face.
I love it.
Amazing. Thank you. Okay. So I'd love to also dive into your moon, which sits in Gemini, the energy of Gemini in the 11th house. So we'll start with your moon. The moon is really, the function of it is the development of your ability to feel or to respond emotionally. It also is where you develop your subjectivity or how impressionable you are, kind of what you take on, how sensitive you are. And I think of it as really your soul. And so the energy of Gemini is also the teacher portion that I mentioned earlier. So the Gemini is, the sign of the twins. Twins talk, they listen, they support each other. And so this sign is really about communication. It's about perception. It's also about motion. So the Gemini in you, that energy is always in motion. So this could, relate to your emotions ever changing, being up and down and all around. And so there's so much to see and know in the energy of Gemini, not a minute to waste. The energy of Gemini is intelligent. It's probably pretty chatty. And the key theme here is, intelligent thought and speech. And then also, I want to say aliveness, but it's really intensity around living this full life and bringing in the fullness of energy. So I'm piecing it together. I promise we're coming home. The 11th house, where all this sits, the 11th house is your house of community. It's like your soul friends. It's the people that you nurture. And so I'm sorry, I think I misspoke. Let me go back to a second. Your energy is in the 10th house. I'm sorry. Earlier, I was looking at your 11th house because your 11th nurturing house, which we can talk about that in a second. But I want to go back to your moon being in the 10th house. Now, this is the house of career. This is the house of like reputation. It's how you position yourself in society. And it's almost the sense of fulfilling your destiny. So when I put all these together, I think, okay, Taylor, you probably have these emotions that are ever changing, which is beautiful. I'm curious if you're an emotional human design. We can talk about that later. And so the questions I ask are like, okay, what kinds of experiences in your life and career, specifically like your destiny and purpose side of things, which experiences are essential for your happiness? When moodiness or rationality, overtake, how are they expressed for you? And like what unconscious needs do you have as an emotional person? Is it that you love the intelligent side of things? Do you love to, read and speak? Do those things light you up? It sounds like from, what I know about you and your introduction today, I'm not trying to give too much away, that there's a lot of motivation there and alignment, but I'd love to know, from what I've described so far, how does this paint a picture for you, and does it align with what you're thinking?
Yes, this is the one piece specifically of astrology that really helped give me grace in my life, because I do often feel these polar opposite emotions going on, or like one day I'm feeling like this and the next day I feel completely opposite, translating to business. I know every entrepreneur can relate to this on one level. It's just like on a Monday at 3:00, you can be like, I'm quitting everything. Like, why did I start a business? Or why am I in this career? Like, what am I even doing? And then the next morning, you can be like, this is the best thing ever. Like, I'm never leaving it. This is amazing. I don't know if that is more of my moon in Gemini. It feels like maybe it is, but that's been one of the biggest things I've picked up on, really with that piece. And it's helped me just kind of understand that I might be on this emotional roller coaster. And I've used like the roller coaster analogy a lot this year, with things. And I'm just like, I like roller coasters. I love amusement parks, and just like, I'm just learning to buckle up, throw my hands up. And I love what you guys said. I can't remember what episode it was, but it was something about, Jacqueline, I think you said like letting life move through you or something. I think it was like the trusting yourself episode. And that I feel like is what I'm just trying to do with my Gemini moon of just like letting life like move through me and just living with the ebbs and flows.
Oh my gosh, that is beautiful.
That's amazing. Yeah, I just had one follow-up question too when you were talking about navigating the emotions and having them be a roller coaster. I mean, when did you start embracing that like ride? It was that like, can you talk a little bit about like, have you always been that way? Have you always like loved roller coasters and been like, yeah, both the sides of my emotions, or did it take you some time to really like embrace that?
It definitely took a lot of time. Yes, I would say just within the last few years, and for me, having a better understanding of astrology and human design, like giving myself that grace and kind of that permission slip, like this is normal, because before I would just think like that, there's something wrong with me. Like, I think probably we all think that at different times of something. And it's just like, this is either in your chart or this is, whatever. And just kind of understanding that this is just more of a natural piece to things just actually gave me peace. So I would say within the last few years, I started embracing that. And before, I just would get really hard on myself, and that doesn't help anything, right? And then it would stop me from taking action. And then I just kind of felt like I just had this internal battle of, one day if have feelings one way and I don't want to take action, I don't want to like move forward with something. And then a couple days later, it's like, no, this is what I want to do. And I'm like, why did I waste 2 days? I don't love the term waste as much anymore, but that's kind of what it felt like for most of my life.
Wow. When I think of also about the energy of Gemini, I think about living the most intense in a good way life. Multi-passionate really is a better way to say that. So I think about the manifesting generator who lives a million lives in one. The energy of Gemini is really to live as a varied life as possible. And the energy of boredom is almost treated like a sin in Gemini world, because that's, I think, the part of also letting life live through you is letting the universe not make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so those emotions, those feelings up, down, all around, for you, I'm sure it is sometimes difficult to determine which ones are indicators of actions to take and which ones are things to sit with. And we all know human design people sit with your emotions, let them pass through you. And I think it's probably something similar with Gemini, which is the teacher in you. So talking is also a resource that the Gemini energy has to be able to have more vitality, whether that be physical or emotional or mental, but talking. So I don't know if you do talking through, talking out emotions, or I know knowing you do a lot of talking. So that's probably pretty healing and joyful for you. You seem really happy when you talk. Sorry, yeah. I'm not trying to project on you. What I know about you. And so those are some resources and some strategies that I know about the Gemini energy that I don't know if they're helpful.
Yes, I'm a verbal processor, 100%.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So I'm definitely one of those people that even just my husband or friend or whoever, I answer my own question in just talking at them, basically.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
I'm the same way. Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
I resonate. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's so cool. See, I love how these things come together.
I know. And then also speaking of the boredom piece, my mom is a Sun Gemini, and her and I are always talking about, we're just like, I just don't know how people could be bored. Like, I don't know if I've ever been bored in my life. I do find excitement through things. So that's super interesting that ties back to that.
Exactly. And, the energy of Gemini also has this natural curiosity that they fall more easily into, more than most signs. So wherever Gemini is in someone's chart, that's where they find, a lot of curiosity. And for you, being emotional, being in your 10th house of like career and purpose, which is, something that you've obviously been very successful at. It is all really interesting and really cool how it comes together. Amazing. Awesome. Well, I would love to dive into your rising sign, also known as ascendant, Taylor, and you are a Leo rising. And really, your rising sign paints a picture of how you present yourself to the world. So this is that queen tagline that I mentioned a little bit earlier. And I mentioned that it's a mask. So you wear the mask of Leo, and not mask in a bad way, like you're covering yourself up. It's the energy that the world sees you as. So this expression of Leo is also the performer, or it's almost like a childlike energy. It's also the leadership energy. The expression is, to leave tangible evidence of these processes that you have inside. You leave that tangible evidence in the hands of the world. So you basically are like, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling, this is my process that I've come up with, and you present it in some way that makes sense. The queen is that leader that I'm talking about. So it's the development of this almost dominant personality, but not in a bad way, because leaders are also servants. So the strategy of being a Leo rising, and this is your first house, so it's totally your personality, it's who you are, it's your being. The strategy there is typically to say yes to life and what it brings you. And so this brings you, a natural inclination for positivity as a Leo, a natural, lack of pettiness, hopefully. The path of, I guess, highest order for the Leo is to go above and beyond your ego and getting, wounded easily. So it's truly a growth path, but also a leadership calling. It's also spontaneous. It's also playful. And so I am curious how you see this showing up, or if you've gotten feedback from other people in your life or in your business about how you show up, whether it's in this way or a different way.
Yes, this is a piece that I feel like I didn't truly start embracing until probably the last couple of years. I think that's been something that I heard a lot. I heard the leader piece a lot growing up, which makes sense if that's kind of the perception. I never really felt that inside until probably a few years ago, when I, have been placed in leadership positions, whether that is, I host a lot of workshops now. I do a lot of that for my business. That's kind of a leadership piece during the workshop. And, hiring team members for my business definitely throws you into a leadership position, and have slowly begun to realize that that is definitely a passion of mine that I do want to develop more. I am seeing my opportunities for growth within leadership, and any skills that I need to still develop. So that is something that I'm excited to actually intentionally grow into over the next couple of years. So I would say, yeah, just the last couple of years I've started to really understand the Leo piece.
Oh, the Leo energy. It's so much fun. And to be honest with you, when I was looking at your chart, Taylor, I saw Jupiter in your first house. So again, first house is the house of self and personality and identity. And Jupiter is a planet that brings abundance and luck, but also just kind of blows up anything that's around. So having Jupiter in your first house enhances that Leo quality that you have. And so that doesn't surprise me that people have kind of projected onto you, maybe that you are a leader, even though you truly are. But so it's kind of bigger and more magnified than most others, I'll say. I was also telling Bri before we got started, I was like, she said, how do you think Taylor aligns with her chart? I said, I am jealous. I'm a little jealous because she's got this like Aries energy of taking action, moving forward, being brave, taking on challenge. She's got this Leo, really strong energy of being a leader, being the person that can, charm and have the charismatic conversations as a leader and like really bring influence and impact along with her. It's like, and she's got this amazing, like intelligent, chatty mood too, but moon. I was like, honestly, she is set up for what she's doing. So I wanted to ask you, I know I've talked a ton. So I want to ask you if you had any questions, because I know we're just kind of scratching the surface. I'm wondering if you had any questions or any area that you wanted to dive in a little bit more deeply.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Leo piece is a little, I think I just made another connection here. So I was going to ask a clarifying question. The Leo piece is a little more of like that fun and spontaneousness. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I actually just wrote a section in my book about this. For most of my life, I think up until a few years ago, I was maybe operating more deeply into that Aries energy where I was taking life a little too serious. And it was just action. It was just the to-do list. Like that was like 100% what got me in burnout in my 20s. And just the last few years have started embracing just making life fun, like just literally trying to make life fun every day. It's not always easy, but it's been fun. Actually, my husband is an Aries. So both of us, the last few years, both of us can definitely like put our heads down and work and not pop out into the world for months if we needed. Although he's very extroverted. I can't remember what his moon and sun is, but as Aries, that's been something that it's just been easy to take life seriously. And it's all been about work. Last few years, making things more fun has been a focus.
That is incredible.
I love that. What are some things that you've been doing to cultivate that into your life?
Yes. So one of my favorite questions is it's so simple, just asking, how can I make this more fun? So especially things like we have our family, my husband and I are both from Nebraska. We live in Missouri now. So it's about a 6.5-hour drive to go see them. So even things like that, we're just like, how can we make it more fun? Like, how can we make the drive more fun? Maybe that's conversation or a different playlist or whatever that looks like. Also, part of that has been just staying in a healthy way, staying connected to just the fragility of life. I had a lot of instances a few years ago where I almost lost some of the closest people in my life at different times. It was a wild year. So staying connected to that and just trying not to take life too seriously has helped a lot. Just realizing like, we're only here for, I don't like saying short so much, but, a finite amount of time. And just, I think fun and joy and that vibration just helps everything in life, really. So trying to balance that without, gaslighting my Gemini side too is always a balance. But I would say those are a couple things. Yeah. Staying connected to just fragility and just always asking myself, how can I make it more fun? And if something is recurring in my life that doesn't seem fun or I start dreading, I just ask myself, do I even need this in my life or in my business? Do I even really need to be doing this? Sometimes the answer is yes. And then I just go back to the first question of then how can I make it fun? Sometimes the answer is no, I don't need it. So how can I remove it? Do I really need to be a part of this networking group anymore if I started to dread it? Or do I need to be, continue selling a certain offer in my business if my heart has left that offer? And things like that. So.
Oh my goodness. That is so cool. Yeah. The Leo energy is fun. It's playful. It's creative. So sounds like you are leaning into that full force.
Yes. Trying. That was another limiting belief for a lot of my life was I am not creative until I had a very creative friend of mine call me out a few years ago and was like, that's a story you're telling yourself. And I'm like, you're 100% right. So I have been figuring out what creativity looks like to me, I've started dabbling in coloring. I really liked doing coloring books as kind of just like nighttime wind down. And I'm really great at solving problems. I love doing that. So I've really understood that too is a form of creativity. But I just always felt like I can't make a piece of art, which is a limiting belief. I can, it just might not be something that's put in a museum. But yeah, diving deeper into that has been fun.
Oh
Amazing.
I love
I had a follow-up too when we were talking about your Leo energy and basically the perception of you as a leader. How comfortable do you feel being seen in that light?
More comfortable every day, but still, yeah, uncomfortable. I don't know if that's because I allowed myself not to be seen for so long, or if I'm allowing society to, sometimes society says that's not good to be in the spotlight or it's selfish. So I'm not sure, 100% sure where my uncomfortableness comes from in that, but I am getting more comfortable every day. I think just staying connected to the why of it, and understanding that it still is of like greater purpose and that is a form of impact, is kind of helps me step into that when I need to.
Yeah, amazing. I know a lot of women who, have those like innate leadership qualities. Sometimes it's hard to show up and it's hard to be seen and it's hard to, have that discipline to continue to show up on the days that you were talking about, especially with the Gemini emotions. If it's a day where you're like, what am I even doing? Why did I even start this? But yet the perception of you is like people look to you as such a leader. So I resonate with that a lot. That you mentioned that it takes some time and giving yourself grace that you also mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've been definitely on a self-worth journey the last couple of years, and it's been amazing. And for me, it's kind of been, I was telling this to my clients for a lot of years and have just now been embodying it more myself of the days that I don't want to show up, I might not want to show up for me today, but I do want to show up for other people, and staying connected to that impact helps me show up on the days that I'm just like, I just want to lay in bed, or I want to quit my business, or I'm going to move across the country, or, whatever my Gemini self is telling myself that day. Showing up for others, even if I don't want to show up for myself, in itself ends up, I'm showing up for myself. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
I relate to that a lot. I was also curious about, being a leader. I mentioned this earlier by accident, but it's coming full circle. You bring people along with you as a leader. So that's servant leadership, some of the best kind of leadership, right? And Leo being this like lighthouse, but you also have this nurturing energy of your community, being in the 11th house in Cancer, which is very like motherly, nurturing, supportive. Like, how do you really serve people? And that makes sense that you just mentioned that. You're like, I don't necessarily have to show up for me, even though showing up for others is showing up for me. And so I was curious if, along the way, building this community that you've built, if that has always been pretty natural to you, or did it take some time to kind of find your flow as a servant leader?
Yeah, it's definitely taken time to find that. And really just kind of having that reflection piece has helped a lot. Definitely, I don't know if it's the Aries in me, but for a lot of years, I always skipped like the reflection exercise when it was like New Year's time. I just went straight to goals and skipped the reflection because it's not productive in my mind. And then years later realized, oh yeah, I should have done that, because I would have faced the parts of either myself or my life that needed some improvement, and instead they just continued to trend downward into burnout. So I'd say having a regular reflection practice has helped a lot with that piece. And just, again, staying connected to why I'm doing what I'm doing and creating systems for things too has helped a lot. Especially as like my community grows and clients grow, just continually figuring out how can I continue to nurture people without it always being manual. Because as you start to grow your network and community, touching base with people very regularly is hard. So I've gotten creative around that, still making sure that I am connecting with people one-to-one, and figuring out other ways to support them too, has been a creative problem that I've been looking to solve.
Well, it definitely shows up. And I, have witnessed you as a nurturing leader. And it does feel like a warm hug when Taylor shows up. So the reflection practices are definitely working, and I am challenged by you. So thank you for sharing that.
Good. Good.
Now that we've kind of like talked about your sun, your moon, your rising, what do you feel like you embody all of these? Or do you feel like completely in alignment? Like when Jacqueline was sharing, were you like, yes, 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 yes? Or was there anything where you were like, huh?
That's an awesome question. I would say, I'm trying to think if there was anything that didn't feel either like it resonated or was in alignment. I think for me, the biggest thing has just been allowing myself to live into some of those characteristics, because some of them are uncomfortable, whether it's, the leadership spotlight piece or the allowing the emotions to just flow and be on that roller coaster. So I think that's probably where my greatest work lies, is just allowing it more. I still sometimes feel resistance, I think, to things that are natural to me, things that are in my chart. And so just working on the allowing. The Aries feels very in alignment. It really kind of always has. And working to balance that out has been a good challenge to work through. So I think for me, it's more of just the allowing and leaning into it deeper. So yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I was just curious because some people are like super aligned, and sometimes we're not always in that place, and we're kind of like, oh, that's information. Like, I want to explore that a little bit further. So I was just curious about your perspective.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I love astrology, because it's very much highlighting your essential self, your true self, right? And then it's super speedy path to growth, because it's highlighting your highest self and the energy of it. And it almost, to me, sometimes is confrontational. So I commend your courage for even agreeing to chat and have a recorded conversation about your astrology chart, because it can be very intense and intimate. So brave souls over here. Really appreciate you.
Yes, thank you so much. So
Yeah.
before we fully wrap up today, though, we did have one final question that we wanted to ask you. If you were to give one advice on cultivating your essence to women, what would it be?
For women to implement this tip?
For women to essentially cultivate like who they are, their essence, how they show up, like embodying their full self. What advice would you give someone who is searching for that or wanting to create that in their life?
Yes. So my answer is uncomfortable to implement, but is what has truly changed my life. And that is to get to know yourself. And cultivating that self-love. I spent, like I mentioned, the self-worth has been something I've really worked on the last couple of years. Taking myself on solo dates, like going to dinner, going to a movie, like actually spending time with myself instead of like numbing out with work or having to always talk to somebody on the phone or whatever that looks like. Just getting to know myself and just leaning into the shadow pieces, even of here are some patterns I've recognized, or and acknowledging the shine pieces too, because that can also be uncomfortable. I just had a mastermind call this morning with some clients talking about how uncomfortable it is sometimes to receive compliments. And so I think knowing yourself, addressing those shadow pieces, and also accepting the shine pieces, and really allowing yourself to feel the good. And I don't like saying bad, I like saying opportunities for growth, the shine pieces and just the opportunities for growth. So I would say really embodying your essence, you have to know yourself.
Amazing. I love the like embracing your shine. That's amazing. I love that. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And obviously we are in full agreement, and I see a lot of similarities between how we approach just growth and life and business. And again, can't thank you enough, Taylor, for coming on, being brave, going through the journey a little bit together here. But yeah, I was curious. I know you shared your social, but I would love for you to share for anybody who's listening where they can find you online.
Yes. Yes. So Instagram is the best place. I'm in the DMs. I do set some boundaries there, so I'm not always super, super responsive, but definitely within like a day or two, I will respond. And I have a podcast called the High Performer Podcast. That's a great place to find me online as well. And then my website, heytaylorthompson.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Taylor Thompson. We so appreciate you and just celebrate you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so, so, so much for your time today. It was such an honor to be in your light.
Yes.
Okay, wow. I don't know about you, but I am inspired. Taylor's amazing.
Oh my gosh. Taylor is even more aligned than I thought she would be going in. She's definitely done the work. She's the real deal. She is such an amazing leader. And I just really appreciate how real she was with us, you know?
Totally. Oh my gosh. And I loved all the things that she shared, and just like for someone who comes across as such a leader and who I've known virtually, like having her vulnerability and authenticity come through too, and just talking about the things that we all feel. I just felt so seen too, hearing her speak. It was amazing. But for those of you who are tuning in, we would love if you could rate the show, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Instagram. And remember, always let your essence shine.